I'm here next to BARAK RAVIV, and I'm very excited as a paramedic. Hello, BARAK.
Hello.
I see this is two ambulances that's supposed to go to Magen Adom in Israel.
Right. We have two ambulances here. One is a mobile intensive care unit. In Hebrew we call it Natan. And the other one is a standard ambulance.
Who arranged all these beautiful, beautiful things?
Both of them are gifts. Actually, the Magen Adom, even though it has a mandate to provide services in Israel and to provide life-saving support, it doesn't receive any funding from the Israeli government except for special occasions for the IDF. So these two ambulances are gifts from donors in the United States. The ambulance behind me is a gift from the Gabo family, and they wanted to honor the memory of their parents who had passed away. So they donated the standard ambulance that was built in Indiana, and it's going to be shipped from here to San Francisco, where there's going to be a wonderful ceremony, and from there it's going to go to Israel. And this ambulance over here is a mobile intensive care unit, and here we describe it as a hospital on wheels. It's a fully equipped ambulance with defibrillators, life-saving equipment, and this was actually the brainchild of a kid who's now bar mitzvah. He just had his 13th birthday, named Robert Leeds. And Robert decided that for his bar mitzvah project, instead of getting gifts, instead of getting the Xbox and all the toys, he wanted his friends to donate towards building an ambulance that would save lives in Israel. He had a wonderful bar mitzvah project. We had the ambulance featured there, and now we're going to be shipping it directly to Israel to save lives.
It's wonderful. We're here in Long Beach. It's a beautiful town, and it's like to see those ambulances driving in the street of Long Beach, just on the way to shipping. It's so exciting for me as a person that was volunteering Magen David Adom in Israel as a 15 years old child, and then as adult as a paramedic. So for us, we just wanted to say thank you very much for everything you're doing for us. Barak, tell me the story about your own donation with ambulance.
Well, about 5 years ago, I donated an ambulance like this as well, and it was the product of, it was right during the war, the Lebanese war in 2006, and you saw these news stories about a third of the population of Israel having to be in shelters, and I wanted to do something meaningful for Israel. And you can make a donation, you can write a check, but I read an article about a community that donated 8 ambulances, and I thought, what a neat idea to actually build an ambulance. You have something physical that's going to go out and save lives. So I got a few people together, we raised money, we donated a mobile intensive care unit, and we had this great ceremony in Beverly Hills. The mayor came, all the community leaders, the representatives, the media. And what's amazing about it, you were talking about getting excited about it. I remember driving up to that ambulance in the morning of the ceremony, and you see the Magen David Adom symbol on the ambulance. You see the words in Hebrew, and you know that no matter what happens, that ambulance is going to be the margin between life and death for the people of Israel.
I see that we're here in an airport, so every once in a while we're going to hear the airplanes and the helicopters coming, and you are a pilot yourself, right?
Right. As a joke, now I'm the president of the board in LA, and as a joke I told the board members that whoever wants to make a donation towards an ambulance, I'll take them on a joyride for my own flight on behalf of Magen David Adom. But that's just for fun. What's really important is that these ambulances help save lives in Israel. We were talking earlier about how the government of Israel provides a mandate for Magen David Adom to save lives in Israel, but all the funding, or almost entirely the full funding for the organization, comes from donors like you and me. And it's really important. I don't think people realize that these ambulances are not only the ones that go out in times of war or terrorist attacks. We don't know how this ambulance is going to be used, but we know that whether it's delivering a pregnancy or saving somebody from a heart attack or, God forbid, a car accident, there is no doubt that that ambulance will be the margin between life and death for the people walking the streets of Israel today.
It's amazing. Thank you very much that you're doing this activity for us. And as I told you, I can't even count how many times I saw a new ambulance coming to Magen David Adom branch that I used to volunteer in. At the door, I always saw names of people who donate this ambulance. And as a kid, I thought this is a wonderful thing that people not living like the good life here and forget everybody behind, you know?
Right. Well, I think for you, especially since you have a personal story of having volunteered for Magen David Adom since you were 15 and also being a paramedic, there's a special meaning when you see the names and you meet the families that donated. Behind every door of every ambulance is the name of somebody who, with passion and love for the state of Israel, went out and gave their hard-earned money to build an ambulance to send to Israel. So every time you see an ambulance rolling the streets of Israel, that's just one little package of love from the states for Israel.
Israel owe a lot of thanks, not only Magen David Adom, but people that thinking about Israel and helping Israel to survive. And I want to thank every organization that help Israel, but especially this organization that support healthcare and emergency. And God knows that we have a lot of problems, and there is a lot of פיגועים. מה שנקרא.
Right. You have injuries and you have attacks and there's terrorism. And then you have standard run-of-the-day accidents, and there's always the need for life support. We consider ourselves the second most important life-saving organization in Israel, second only to the Israel Defense Forces. And the mission of the organization is to save lives. And it's really part of a partnership between the Magen David Adom in Israel, the people of Israel, and then the American Friends of Magen David Adom in the United States. In Israel, each individual has the obligation to do the sharut. They have to serve in the army. In the United States, we don't have that, and this is the way that we come back and we say thank you for fighting the hard fight. This is our way of giving back and to help save lives. You know, I have a twin brother in Israel. I have my aunts and uncles and a lot of family in Israel, and for me, it's important to know that there's going to be an organization like Magen David Adom saving lives. This is not only the life-saving organization in Israel, but it's also the equivalent of the Red Cross. Anytime somebody dials the equivalent of 911 in Israel, it's a Magen David Adom ambulance that goes out and saves lives. It provides 100% of the general population. It provides 100% of the blood supply for the Israel Defense Forces and 97% of all the blood supply for the state of Israel. So there's a lot more to the organization than just driving ambulances.
Thank you again. It's a wonderful answer. Yes, we have kids 18 years old that go into the army. Every child in Israel, when he turns 18, go to the army. It's not a volunteer situation, and then because of because of our beautiful, brave army, people can come every year, visit the Kotel, visit all the sites of Israel. People can live in Israel in general, and it's nice that this is a nice way to say thank you.
Well, it's really our pleasure, and it's an opportunity for us to give back. And I know that when I go to Israel, I'm going to look for these ambulances, and I want to see how they operate. One thing that's really neat is every time one of these ambulances goes out on a call, you mentioned that you were involved with 12 pregnancies, 12 deliveries yourself in an ambulance like this one. Every time it goes out on a call, the call gets logged. And what the organization does that's really wonderful to the donors is it provides an update. So every once in a while, I can see exactly how many car accidents it responded to, how many heart attacks, how many lives it saved, how many pregnancies, and it's a wonderful feeling. It's very touching to know that this organization, which is very much a part of who I am as a person, is out there saving the lives of our brothers and our sisters in Israel.
Well, Yasher Koach, thank you for this interview. Thank you for letting us see those ambulances from the outside. Maybe you're going to let us watch those ambulances from the inside?
Sure, and I just want to make a personal plea and thank everybody for their support. The organization works very hard to be able to provide ambulances. The website for the organization is www.afmda.org. We'll try to put it on the screen. And the help of the volunteers like yourself and the donors like the organization that I work with is really vital for saving lives in Israel.
Thank you very much. Yasher Koach, BARAK, RAVIV. Thank you for this interview. And if you're going to give us the chance, we're going to go inside now.
Sure. And if you're lucky, we might even let you take it for a little spin.
Yeah.
Bekef.
Cameraman, after me. Oh my God, it's hard. Thank you for waiting.
Go.
Oh my God. Okay. So ladies first or paramedic first?
I'll let you go first.
It's a story. I want to tell you a story especially from the days that I was 15 years old volunteering in ambulance. This ambulance called Natan. It's ניידת טיפול נמרץ, which means it's an emergency ambulance, and I wasn't allowed even to touch it from the outside as a 15 years old. Then I was a paramedic, and then I saw what happened inside, and it was a hard school to be a paramedic. But let's check if I remember what to put where here. So here's the life support, CPR, drugs like adrenaline, atropine stuff. This is the tubes. The tubus, we call it in Hebrew. This is the needles and so on, and this is supposed to be the monitor. So you're gonna give all the equipment from the inside also?
Right, and I'll give you a brief little tour of this MICU. So you were calling it Natan. In English, it's a MICU, a mobile intensive care unit. It's a virtual self-sustaining life support system. And we like to call it a hospital on wheels. It's one of the most advanced types of vehicles for life-saving support. So over here, you have a monitor. Over here, you have several medications. In the hospital, you also have defibrillators to be able to revive passengers. And this specific ambulance, as opposed to the standard ambulance, has a lot of it's used on a lot of intense situations, so it has a lot of life-saving equipment.
Well, so how do you feel inside?
Hopefully I never have to be inside an ambulance. It's funny, we had this ambulance at a ceremony just a few days ago, and one of our donors, Max Webb, saw the ambulance, and we said, listen, you've given some money, come inside, let's take a picture, let's take a video. Well, Max Webb, he's a great donor, but he's 95 years old, and he does not want to see the inside of an ambulance. He says, I'll give you the donation, but don't make me take a picture inside. So to answer your question seriously, it really is an amazing feeling when you realize that this is brand new, everything is shiny and clean, but pretty soon this ambulance will be put to work. A lot of miles will be driven on this car. It'll be used very quick for a lot of good purposes, and it will do a lot to help save lives.
I can't even explain to you the feeling to be on the way to emergency, sitting here in this chair, and hear the ambulance running to the next emergency. It's like you never get used to it. As a paramedic, I'm telling you, you have the chill, and you never get over it. But every person in the ambulance, the doctor, the paramedic, and the driver, know exactly what you have to do, because we have like 5 minutes of fame. If we're going to fail, we're going to lose life.
Isn't it ironic that as a teenager you were sitting in these ambulances saving lives? You became a paramedic. You were a volunteer with Magen Adom in Israel, and now here you are in the States, sitting in the same type of ambulance as a journalist reporting about the organization. It's really incredible, and we thank you for what you do as well.
Well, it's more comfortable. It's less responsibility.
So I want to tell you a quick story. 5 years ago, when I donated my ambulance to Israel, I made a trip to Israel, and I called the organization. I called Magen Adom, and I said I'd like to see this ambulance in action. So I went over there. The ambulance was actually being used in Lod, right by the Ben Gurion airport. And when I saw the ambulance, the first impression I had was of shock, because it was no longer the clean, shiny ambulance. It was dented, dusty, used. It had almost 40,000 kilometers on it, which is enough to drive around the circumference of the entire planet. 40,000 kilometers that ambulance had driven. And it was very sad to see it as an old ambulance. It had only been a few months in use, but in a few seconds I realized what that meant. That ambulance was not sitting in a parking lot. It wasn't there for the ceremony, for people to see what we're doing for Israel. It was there to be used, and every single day and night it was going out on calls, helping people, providing life support, bringing people to hospitals. It was making a real big difference, and to see the effect of the ambulance that I was able to send to Israel was incredible, and that helped me get inspired to become even more involved with the organization.
It's amazing. It's a good news that, you know what, nobody allowed to touch the ambulance or drive with an ambulance not to emergency, So if it's 40,000 kilometers of saving life.
Right. Like you were saying, the ambulance can only be used for saving lives, and it's not used for recreational purposes. So that's an affirmation of the good work that this ambulance does.
So thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, BARAK, RAVIV. And we're blessing this ambulance just to save life and do good stuff. And thank you.
We hope that this ambulance will only save lives in Israel, and we bless it as well.
So you allow me to drive?
Okay, you've done a good job for the organization. From what I've heard, you are a great volunteer, so we'll let you take it for a little test drive before we send it to Israel.
Yay!